The history of Alexander Hamilton in less than or equal to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Famously, you'll remember, Hamilton co-authored the Federalist Papers with James Madison and John Jay. Of 85 papers Hamilton wrote or co-wrote 54, making him the main collaborator on the project, the captain of the team, so to speak, in the ratification debate. You'll see at the bottom probably the most famous quote from a Hamiltonian Federalist paper about the rights of man and how the new government would not infringe upon any of them, which clearly was not quite accurate if you look at the context of today. Less well known are the Pacificus-Helvidius debates about a national bank between Hamilton and Madison. Now, in order to understand why Hamilton took these positions, we need to understand the eras in which he lived. First, the Revolutionary era. The painting is a portrait of him wearing his New York artillery uniform while he served in the Revolution. After the war, he became senior officer of the army, succeeding George Washington at the post. The second era is the early constitutional era. He served as a delegate for New York at the Constitutional Convention, where he wrote the Federalist Papers, and after the Constitution was adopted, he became the first Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, which is why he's on the $10 bill. These eras clearly influenced Hamilton's beliefs. He was working to convince the new Americans to adopt a system of government which was a lot like the one they had just overthrown in the Revolutionary War. The picture is propaganda against the Stamp Act. Hamilton had to convince the people that the government would never impose such high taxes as that, which is why he said things like, "It's not tyranny we desire, but a just, limited federal government." The other picture shows one of the problems with the Articles of Confederation, that states could never agree, an influence for Hamilton to write that even to observe neutrality, you need a strong central government. Luckily for him, his audience was influenced by the same eras as he was, so he was able to get things done. He ratified the Constitution almost single-handedly. He created the Bank of the United States along with the Federalist Party, and he was a big advocate for what would become known as the Quasi-War after the XYZ affair, which isn't too remembered on account of how it wasn't actually a war, and nothing really happened. Okay, so that's all fine and good for them back then, but why should we read his writing today? First off, we should understand the positions of the Founding Fathers when they framed the Constitution. Today, we see the Constitution more as a living document. We adhere to a less literal interpretation, making decisions based on the spirit of the law, not the letter, so it's important to know what the framers were actually thinking when they framed the Constitution. Also, knowing about our Founding Fathers helps us to be informed citizens, which America needs. I think Hamilton's achievements testify to their own significance, but let's talk about them anyway. He and a small band of supporters single-handedly achieved a ratification of the Constitution, which set up the government that still governs the single most powerful Western nation in the world today. He gave that government enough power to do its job in contrast to the Articles of Confederation, and he came up with the idea of implied powers. But the method with which he had the success is also important. He did it through compromise. This is something modern politicians could learn from. If we had tried to compromise before the recent government shutdown, like Hamilton did, maybe we would have come out with a better result, like the Constitutional Convention did with the Bill of Rights. Now let's look at another issue that was facing Alexander Hamilton, that of protecting rights. He did want states to give up some of their rights, but that was only because he thought the federal government could protect them better. For example, the federal government could protect the right to liberty by being strong enough to fight off foreign powers that were threatening it. Finally, Alexander Hamilton is still significant by being the founder of the longest-running newspaper in America, the New York Post. It's important to be educated about all parts of American history, but especially about the Founding Fathers. I hope you're better educated about Alexander Hamilton than you were when you started watching this video. Thanks to all my sources, and thank you for watching.